Good evening and welcome to the July 26, 2022 regular meeting of the Gaston County Board of Commissioners. My name is Chad Brown. I serve as the chairman of the board as well as the commissioner for the Riverbend Township. I would like to welcome our viewers on Spectrum, Cable, and AT&T for making it possible for our citizens and viewers. For our television and live stream audience, I would like to present your county commissioners beginning on my far left.
Kim Johnson, Gastonia Township.
Good evening, Bob Hovis, Crowders Mountain Township.
Good afternoon, Ronnie Worley, South Point Township.
I'm also pleased tonight, the first item will be the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance. It's also a pleasure when young people take pride in what's going on in government around our county. So tonight we'll have a young student from Kings Mountain High School doing the Pledge of Allegiance, which is none other than our county manager's son, J.W. Eagle. But before that, Bob Hovis will be given the invocation. So if you'll please stand at this time, we'll go through that.
Please bow with me in prayer. Gracious Father, we come to you tonight to take care of the business of Gaston County. Father, we are we are saddened in our hearts by what we see happening across the country. The fires in Texas and California, many people being displaced, the tremendous weather that's hit the Northeast. Father, we know that we are here for you and you are here for us. Father, let us be mindful there are things in this world that we as individuals cannot control, and we need to be even more diligent on those things that we do have input and control of. Father, we ask that in your Son's name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on the agenda is public hearings. The commission will take citizens' comments for 7 public hearings. Comments will be taken on the following issues: zoning map change Z22-18, zoning map change Z22-19, zoning map change Z22-20, zoning text amendment ZTA 22-03, zoning text amendment ZTA 22-04, a road naming RD 22-01, and a level 2 or level 3 incentive grant for Project Grappa. At this time, I will ask Ms. Sarah Penley to please step to the podium. And Ms. Penley, if you could please go over the first narrative about the Smith Road.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Before we begin the public hearings, I would like to note for the record that the continuance of general rezoning application Z22-20 from last month's meeting will not be continued for public hearing at this time. Notifications were mailed to adjoining property owners of record indicating that the public hearing had been canceled for tonight. The applicant has withdrawn the application, voiding any board consideration or public input for the general rezoning. Should the applicant reapply, the same regulations and policies regarding the application process and public notifications will still apply. So we will not be hearing any information for that particular application. It was withdrawn by the applicant.
And I did want to say that just for the people who are here for that particular issue, that once we get into public hearing, there will be not anything about that tonight.
That is correct.
Mr. Worley.
Ms. Penley, if you would, for the benefit of those that are in attendance concerning the Smith Road application, can you kind of just give us a little synopsis of next steps if the applicant were to apply, just to make sure that they know all the right information?
Absolutely, Mr. Worley, and to correct myself on that last sentence, had the application been denied, the applicant would have had to wait a year to apply for another general rezoning. However, this applicant withdrew their application and has now reapplied for a conditional district zoning which for the benefit of the audience is a site-specific rezoning request, which is unique and specialized to the specific property. In other words, along with the application, they must submit a site plan for board approval. There can be conditions placed on the request by both the applicant. There can be staff recommended conditions. There can be planning board recommended additions, as well as board of commissioner recommended conditions, as long as they're agreed upon by both parties, the applicant and the board. It also limits the use. Basically, the applicant is saying, if you will let me do this one use, I will give up my rights to all of the other uses that are allowed in the C2 district, for example. So those are some differences between the next application versus the general. The applicant is also required to hold 2 public information meetings. That is the responsibility of the applicant, not staff. So the next notification that property owners would receive regarding this matter would come from the applicant herself. She is required to notify a boundary within 200 feet of her property. She will be required to run a legal ad, and she will have 2 public information meetings on site of the property and they generally last about 2 hours each. And basically that is to say, hey, I've applied for rezoning, this is my site plan, and to give the opportunity for the public to view and see what she has actually, what she is submitting to the board. It also allows for the applicant to get some feedback, and that way if she needs to make some changes, she can do so prior to the planning board and the board of commissioner meeting. And again, staff will be in attendance at those meetings. Staff is in attendance basically just to take notes for the staff report, and also to answer any general questions about the process and any general questions about zoning. Otherwise, it's the applicant's meeting and the applicant's opportunity to discuss her plan with the surrounding neighbors. A sign will also be posted on the property for that meeting as well. Other than that, the process would be the same. It would still go to the planning board for recommendation, and then the public notices, the legal ad, the zoning sign will go up, and it would come back to public hearing, very similar to the general rezoning process that you had before. Most welcome. Most welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. Before we begin, let me outline the rules and procedures of the hearing. Citizens wishing to make comment will be recognized by the chair and then requested to step to the microphone for their comments. Citizens will make their name and address for the record. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. All questions shall be directed to the chair for response. The chair shall rule on all points of order during the hearing. Do I hear a motion to go into public hearing? Motion made by Commissioner Hovis, seconded by Commissioner Johnson. All in favor? It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. We are now in public hearing. The County Commission will take citizens' comments on public hearing zoning map change Z22-18. Applicant, Ms. Sarah Penley, Building and Development Services Senior Planner, will provide a brief overview. Once she has completed her comments, citizens' comments will be taken. Ms. Penley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Again, the request is to rezone parcel 163-320 located at 2551 Tryon Courthouse Road in Bessemer City from the R1 Single Family Limited Zoning District to the R2 Single Family Moderate Zoning District. The applicant is Jose Quintanilla and the owner is Jose Campos. The total acreage of the parcel and the request to rezone is .68 acres. The current use is vacant. And if we can refer to the slides, please. Again, as mentioned, the property is located off of Tryon Courthouse Road, which is in the northwestern portion of the county, southwest of the town of Cherryville, northwest of Bessemer City, and just east of the Cleveland County line. This is an aerial photo of the property. The subject site is highlighted in blue. Again, as mentioned, it is vacant with large tracts of vacant property surrounding it. We do also have a large mobile home park just to the south of it. Otherwise, there's mixed-use types of housing in the immediate vicinity. The zoning map reflects the current zoning, which is R1 Single Family Limited with some R2 Single Family Moderate to the north and some I3 Exclusive Industrial to the east. And if you zoom out a little further, we do have some more R2 Single Family Moderate to the south, along with some R3 Single Family General as well. This is a map of the owners that were notified for the purpose of public hearing and a listing of those owners. Regarding the comprehensive land use plan, it is staff's opinion that the application as presented is consistent. This matter was reviewed by the Gaston County Planning Board on July 11th, and a recommendation for approval was unanimous. Notifications were sent out and advertised in accordance with county policy, and no calls were received regarding this application. That concludes my presentation, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any comments from the applicant at this time?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, the applicant, I did mean to note, the applicant was unable to attend due to illness this evening. So if you have any questions or for the applicant, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any citizens wishing to comment on this matter at this time? Seeing none, any from the Board of Commissioners? Seeing no additional comments, I will declare the public hearing closed. I will call on the county attorney, Mr. Stetzer, to summarize the planning board's recommendation. Mr. Stetzer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The planning board voted unanimously to approve the application 7-0 based upon the following statement of consistency. The proposed rezoning is in the rural future land use plan. The area consists of significant mixed housing types that are residential nature. The use going from R1 to R2 will maintain the subject parcel as residential in nature, which is consistent with the rural designation.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion on this matter?
I make a motion to.
Motion made by Commissioner Worley, seconded
Approve
by
the
Commissioner
rezone.
Hovis. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. Mr. Stetzer, will you please provide a consistency statement?
Mr. Chairman, the proposed rezoning is in the rural future land use plan. The area consists of significant mixed housing types that are residential in nature. The use from R1 to R2 will maintain the subject parcel as residential in nature, which is consistent with rural designation.
Thank you, sir. The County Commission will now take citizens' comments on public hearing, zoning map change Z22-19, Kevin Melton and Mooney, applicant. Again, Ms. Sarah Penley, our senior planner, will provide a brief overview. Once she's completed her comments, citizens' comments will be taken. Ms. Penley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The request is to rezone a parcel 221906 located at 523 Mooneyville Road in Cherryville from the R1 Single Family Limited Zoning District to the R2 Single Family Moderate Zoning District. The applicant is Kevin Mooney and the owners are Kevin and Brittany Mooney. The total acreage of the parcel and request included in this rezoning is 7.97 acres. The current use is vacant and undeveloped. And if we can refer to the maps, please. This parcel likewise is located in the northwest area of the county, just east of the town of Cherryville, south of Lincoln County, north of Bessemer City, and east of the Cleveland County line. This is an aerial view of the property. Again, the current use is vacant with mixed-use housing types in the immediate vicinity, along with adjacent large tracts of vacant property. Zoning map reflects the R1 Single Family Limited zoning district. Zooming out, it also is consistent with the R1 Single Family Limited with some R2 Single Family Moderate to the north and east of the property. Excuse me. This is the map of the property owners that were notified for the purpose of public notice. and a listing of those owners. Regarding the comprehensive land use plan, it is staff's opinion that the application as presented is consistent. This matter was reviewed by the Gaston County Planning Board on July 11th, and a recommendation for approval was unanimous. Notifications were sent out and advertised in accordance with county policy. Staff did receive one call for general information regarding this application. This concludes my presentation, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any comments from this applicant at this time? Seeing none, are there any citizens wishing to make comment on this issue at this time? Any questions from the Board of Commissioners? Seeing that there are no additional comments, I will declare the public hearing closed. I will ask the county attorney to summarize the planning board's recommendation. Mr. Stetzer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The planning board voted unanimously 7-0 to approve this change. The proposed rezoning is in the rural future land use plan. The area consists of significant mixed housing types that are residential in nature. The use going from R1 to R2 will maintain the subject parcel as residential nature, which is consistent with the rural designation.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion from the Board of Commissioners?
Motion to approve the
Motion made by
rezoning.
Commissioner Hovis, seconded by Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. Mr. Stetzer, will you please provide a consistency statement?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The proposed rezoning is in the rural future land use plan. The area consists of significant mixed housing types that are residential in nature. The use going from R1 to R2 will maintain the subject parcel as residential in nature, which is consistent with the rural designation.
Thank you, sir. The County Commission will now take citizens' comments on public hearing zoning map change Z22-20, James E. Scruggs applicant. Ms. Kimbergerloo, Building and Development Services Long-Range Planner, will provide an overview, and once she has completed her comments, citizens' comments will be taken. Ms. Kimbergerloo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Z22-20 is a general rezoning request from James E. Scruggs. The subject parcel is parcel ID 224871, and it's located at 1218 Old Providence Road in Gastonia. Mr. Scruggs is requesting that his property, which is nearly 2 acres, be rezoned from the R1 Single Family Limited Zoning District with the U.S. overlay to the R2 Single Family Moderate Zoning District with the U.S. overlay. This property is located in the southern part of the county, just south of Gastonia's city limits. The 2022 aerial photography shows that the parcel is vacant and surrounded by residential site-built and manufactured homes. The zoning map shows that the property abuts an existing R2 zoned neighborhood. This neighborhood has a mix of single and double-wide manufactured homes. Any existing single-wide homes are classified as existing non-conforming structures. As we zoom out on the zoning map, we see a few more R2 zone neighborhoods, along with other neighborhoods that have smaller lots to the east of the subject property. This map shows who all was notified with information about this evening's public hearing, and staff has not received any calls about this request. This is the contact information for the properties that were highlighted on the previous slide. The subject parcel is located in the southwest scenic area of the Comprehensive Land Use Plan. Key issues for citizens in this area include preservation of open space, road improvements, and better connectivity to other areas of the county, preservation of existing conditions while allowing low to moderate growth, repurposing vacant buildings and facilities for new economic opportunities, and increased commercial opportunities along existing major thoroughfares. The future land use designation for the property is rural. Rural areas are characterized as having plenty of open space, along with farmstead-style housing and spaces for agribusiness. Residential homes are located on large lots and are set back from the roads that they front upon. This is the default designation for Gaston County. Staff finds that the application and the request as presented is consistent with the vision of the Comprehensive Land Use Plan. The Planning Board also recommended approval of this request. TRC comments were received from the Health Department. They stated that the applicant has obtained a permit for a septic system that would allow a 3-bedroom residence. Mr. Chairman, this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any comments from the applicant at this time? Any citizens wishing to comment at this time? Anyone from the Board of Commissioners wish to comment? Seeing there are no additional comments, I will declare the public hearing closed. I will ask the county attorney to summarize the planning board's recommendation. Mr. Stetzer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Planning Board unanimously recommended approval of this. They found it to be consistent with the future land use plan. The proposed zoning district is consistent with the vision and goals of the comprehensive land use plan, as it will keep the partial residential in nature as envisioned by the rural future land use designation.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion on the table?
Kim's.
Motion made by Commissioner Hovis, seconded by Commissioner Worley.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. Mr. Stetzer, will you please provide a consistency statement?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This change is consistent with the future land use plan. The proposed zoning district is consistent with the vision and goals of the comprehensive land use plan, as it will keep the partial residential in nature as envisioned by the rural future land use designation. Rural areas are characterized as having residential homes located on large lots set back from the roads they front. The proposed use and district would also allow for the preservation of existing conditions in the area while allowing low to moderate growth in the scenic Gaston area of the comprehensive land use plan.
Thank you, sir. The County Commission will now take citizens' comments on public hearing zoning text amendments ZTA 22-03. County Planning Board is the applicant. Again, Ms. Kimbergaloo, our long-range planner, will provide an overview, and once she's completed her comments, citizens' comments will be taken. Ms. Kimbergaloo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. ZTA 22-03 is a request to amend Chapter 2 and Chapter 8 of the Unified Development Ordinance. The goal of this amendment is to create a definition for carports and then to update our home occupation regulations as well. Staff noticed a discrepancy in what zoning code allows versus what the state building code allows. This led to customers being told they were able to do one thing under zoning code, and then when they went to apply for building permits, they would have to make modifications to their plans in order to meet the building code. For example, our current code allows customary home occupations to occupy 25% of the gross heated floor area of a principal residential structure. The building code only allows 10% or 100 square feet. Matching the zoning code with the building code will hopefully decrease some stress and confusion for our customers. This is the proposed definition that staff has written for carports. We noticed that with the last change for accessory structures, we allowed garages and carports to be located in the front yard and the front and side yard, for lots that are greater than 2 acres. However, when we started applying the ordinance, we realized that we didn't have a definition for carports. Including a definition will allow our staff to better assist customers when they want to add a garage or carport onto their lot. The next 3 slides highlight the changes made to Chapter 8 for home occupations. The first change we made is what we are going to call them. Currently, home occupations are either customary or rural. We are proposing to change the name of the 2 types to private and public home occupations. Private home occupations will take place inside the home, and public home occupations will take place outside of the primary residential dwelling and be in an accessory structure located on the lot. The accessory structures will still have to meet the regular accessory structure guidelines. However, they will also have to meet additional regulations that are listed on this slide. The additional regulations are extra measures that staff felt would help keep the home occupation concealed and not change the residential nature of the lot. The building code will also come into play as far as ADA requirements and some other commercial business requirements. However, our hope is that the additional setback and landscape requirements will help keep these structures to have a residential feel with the property. These are the other regulations, and we've shown them side by side to show what is allowed for each type of home occupation. The biggest difference is the 10% rule. This is being decreased from 25% to match what the building code allows. Public home occupations will allow the business owner to have additional staff and additional vehicles associated with their business. Private home occupations can have passenger vehicles only, which are your standard everyday vehicles. Light commercial vehicles are defined as any vehicle that is used for business purposes that has a gross vehicle weight rating of less than 13,000 pounds. Examples of these would be trucks with ladder racks, cranes, compressors, hose reels, welders, and similar equipment. Those would only be allowed in public home occupations. Vehicles for private home occupations must be parked in the driveway or in the garage, and then vehicles associated with a public home occupation may be in a designated parking area that is accessed off of the main driveway. Both types of home occupations will have a limited operating hours range, and this is going to be from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The current UDO also has a list of allowed business types for each home occupation. While staff was discussing these proposed changes, we didn't see a need to dictate what type of business is in each person's home. Our only purpose is to ensure that the home is being used and set up properly for commercial business. Building code is the same way. They're not looking at whether or not you have a home bakery or are collecting cards or anything else. They're looking to make sure that you have accessibility to those structures. Automobile shops will still be limited to lots that are greater than 2 acres in size. And I believe that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. I guess one of those issues would be drums, loud drums. Are there any citizens wishing to comment on this change at this time? Seeing none, are there any questions from the Board of Commissioners? Seeing no additional comments, I will declare the public hearing closed. I will call on the county attorney to summarize the planning board's recommendation. Mr. Stetzer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The planning board unanimously recommended approval, finding this to be consistent with the future land use plan.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion on the table?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Hovis, seconded by Commissioner Worley. All in favor? It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. Mr. Stetzer, will you please provide a consistency statement?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The proposed text amendments are consistent with the comprehensive land use plan as they meet goals 4, 6, and 8 of the comprehensive land use plan in that they enhance land use, zoning, and other regulations to reflect the types of communities desired, improve the image of Gaston County to both current and potential residents, focus on retaining and increasing the population of young professionals, and increase economic development by allowing residents to pursue business ventures at home.
Thank you, Ron. County Commission will now take citizens' comments on public hearing zoning text amendment ZTA 22-04. Gaston County Planning Board is the applicant. Again, Ms. Bergelou, our long-range planning, will provide a brief overview, and once she has completed her comments, citizens' comments will be taken. Ms. Bergelou.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. ZTA 22-04 is a request to amend Chapter 4 of the UDO. Our staff has been working very diligently to clean up review processes and make our standard procedures as efficient as possible. When we took a look at what we are currently doing and what is written in Chapter 4, we noted that there are some discrepancies. So the goal of this amendment is to update Chapter 4 to match what our current processes and procedures are. The first thing we made major changes to is Table 4.1-1. The current table was a little complicated to understand. The updated table groups review types and highlights which board will be responsible for each step of the review process. It also highlights whether or not the submitted document will need to be reviewed by the Technical Review Committee, which is also known as our TRC. The updated table also clears up which cases will need a formal recommendation from the Planning Board as directed by general statute. This is the current table. It requires you to jump back and forth from the table and the key to see what is required. One major change we did was take out letter A in the key. The reason for this is that all applications are going to be submitted to our office. This is a standard and best practice so that we can ensure all applications are getting logged into our systems correctly. We don't want to get in the practice of having non-staff members receiving and filing applications, which is what this table allows. The current table is also too detailed in that it breaks out sketch plans and plats into multiple different procedures. At the end of the day, a plat is a plat and a site plan is a site plan, so we took all of these and made one procedure and gave them one row on the table. Another change we made is to take out the processes that are highlighted or detailed in other sections of the UDO. So we remove zoning permits, building permits, and appeals processes, as these are all outlined in other chapters of our UDO. The next major change was for the structure of the Technical Review Committee. The current UDO outlines that the TRC shall have a representative from 15 different departments and organizations. The county has gone through a lot of restructuring, so some of these departments don't exist anymore. Staff went through and removed the departments that don't exist and ensured that this new list has everyone who needs to comment on a site plan review. We also highlighted a process that states, we removed the process that says TRC members have, I apologize, I read that wrong. We gave a deadline to how long TRC members can review a site plan or a plat. We are giving them 10 days to review and submit comments. The current UDO talks about a secretary position as well, which we felt was not necessary, so we removed it. The current practice is that staff members are responsible for sending out their plans and their reviews to the TRC committee members via email. The Planning Board did recommend approval of this request. Mr. Chairman, this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any citizens wishing to comment on this matter at this time? Seeing none, any questions from the Board of Commissioners? Seeing there are no additional comments, I will declare the public hearing closed. I will now call on the county attorney to summarize the planning board's recommendation. Mr. Burgundy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The planning board was unanimous in its recommendation for approval of this change, finding it to be consistent with the future land use plan.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Worley, seconded by Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. Mr. Stetzer, will you please provide a consistency statement?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This change is consistent with the future land use plan. The proposed text amendments are consistent with the comprehensive land use plan as they meet Goal 5 of the comprehensive land use plan by encouraging communication and collaboration within the Building and Development Services Department and staff and communication between staff and customers.
Thank you, sir. The county will take citizens' comments or on public hearing, road naming RD 22-01, Chantel McCleary, the applicant. Again, Ms. Sarah Penley, our senior planner, will provide a brief overview. Once she has completed her comments, citizens' comments will be taken. Ms. Penley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I begin, if I could do just a little housekeeping for the purpose of minutes. When we were discussing the application at the beginning of the public hearing, we referred to it as Z22-20, the item that was withdrawn. Madam Clerk, that should have been noted as application Z22-14. My apologies for that. So the application that was withdrawn regarding 211 Smith Road was application Z22-14 and not Z22-20.
Thank you for your clarification.
Thank you, sir. This application is RD-22-01. It is a road naming request. The applicant is Chantel McCleary. The property owners are Devin McCleary and Andrew Arthur Pullitz. The parcels involved are 307095 and 307096. The property is located off of Ponderosa Road in Stanley, and the request is to rename an existing 60-foot recorded right-of-way off of Ponderosa Road to Copperhead Hollow. And if we can refer to the maps, please. Again, the site is located off of Ponderosa Road, which is just to the east of the town of Stanley, northwest of Mount Holly, and south of Lincoln County. The subject parcels are highlighted in blue and vacant at this time. However, they do meet the criteria per our ordinance, as the owners are going to be building rather a far distance off of the roadway. This is the recorded plat for the property with the right-of-way noted as it comes off of Ponderosa Road. And again, for clarification, we have the text box indicating where the road would begin. And the property owners notified for the purpose of public hearing. Mr. Chairman, this petition meets all of the requirements in our road naming and addressing ordinance. I would also like to clarify that previously or prior to this, we have always had the planning board make a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners for review. However, due per state statutes, it is not a requirement for the planning board to make recommendations for road naming applications. So this will be the last petition that the planning board makes a recommendation. Moving forward, they will come straight to the board for consideration. But the planning board did vote unanimously on July 11th to recommend approval for the road name. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any comments from the applicant at this time? Seeing none, are there any citizens' comments that wish to comment on this matter? Any from the Board of Commissioners? Seeing there are no additional comments, I will declare the public hearing closed. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Motion made by Commissioner Worley,
Approve.
seconded by Commissioner Hovis. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
The County Commission will take citizens' comments on public hearing to approve the Level 2 or 3 incentive grant and authorize the economic development agreement with Project Grappa. Mr. Donnie Hicks, the most popular man in America, Economic Development Commission Director, will provide a brief overview. Once he has completed his comments, citizens' comments will be taken. Mr. Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're here tonight for another expansion in the county, just as we were last month. This is a project that would invest somewhere around $45 million, build a new facility and put new machinery equipment into it. It'll be the third, fourth expansion they've had. They'll pay $45,000 a year, which is above the county average by roughly $1,000, create 45 jobs over a 2 or 3 year period. We do have some competition, but I think we are in good shape to win this expansion, and this allowed us to keep the company here. And once we explain who it is and what they're doing, they've expanded, if you look at it from the original square footage, by a couple 100,000 square feet. So that's nice to have them here. The corresponding city incentive will be taken up next week, and we expect it will be approved there. And that will complete most of the work that we need to go back to them and see if we can close this out and have the expansion. I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have about it. The reason that we did do it level 2 or 3, normally a $45 million investment would qualify for 3, but we're hedging our bets that they may not pick up all the tax value that they have. That way, if it drops to a level 2, we don't have to come back to you for separate permission for it.
Are there any citizens wishing to comment at this time on this matter? Any comments from the Board of Commissioners? If there are no additional comments, I will declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Hovis, seconded by Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. Donnie, I want to say in public hearing, I want to tell you, man, your staff is just wearing it out, and thank you for all the hard work. And we want to let you know this board up here takes great pleasure in having you guys do what you're doing, and just keep it up while I'm here.
I appreciate that. All for you, Mr. Chairman. And we should have an announcement this week.
That's right. Thank you. This concludes tonight's public hearings. Do I have an approval of the business agenda? Are there any revisions? I have one revision. The resolution to revise the Gaston County Board of Commissioners 2022 regular meeting schedule to be canceled the August 9th meeting for the work session.
Motion to approve amended.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Hovis. I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous, Madam Clerk. So we do have one, I guess I'll just add right into it. We don't have to go into it. Do I hear a motion to approve the business agenda at this time? Motion made by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Hovis. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. Our next item is citizens' recognitions. A portion of the board's agenda is set aside for the purpose of allowing citizens the opportunity to offer comments and suggestions. This comment period is not intended to require the commission or staff to answer any questions or provide a response. Questions requiring a response shall be answered as soon as possible through the Gaston County Manager's office. Citizens' recognition tonight will be limited to 3 minutes. As I call your name, please step to the podium and state your name and address. The first citizen signed to speak is Michael Watkins.
Good evening. My name is Michael Watkins. I live at 316 Smith Road along with my wife, Crystal. I have been asked to speak tonight on behalf of the residents who live on Smith Road, Smith Lane, Derrick Place, Greendale Drive Extension, Hickory Grove Road, Lane Road, and many other streets within 1 mile of Smith Road. I would like to think that we are here with the yellow ribbons on, also representing the hundreds of students at East Gaston High School. Chairman Brown, please hear our voices as we tell you that we wish for you and your commissioners to represent your citizens and not allow future rezoning changes of any kind to Smith Road and adjacent roads. We all wish for zoning of our communities to remain R1 with no exceptions or conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next item is approval of the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion made by Commissioner Hovis, seconded by Commissioner Worley. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. We'll take a brief second here. No items were pulled from the consent agenda. Nothing was appointments. Commissioner Worley.
No report, Mr. Chair.
Or appointment?
Oh, no appointments either.
Commissioner Hovis.
I have no appointments tonight, Mr. Chair.
I'm just making sure I don't have any. I hadn't even checked. Mr. Johnson?
I don't have any appointments, but I have one for Commissioner Keeger. It is Tourism Development Advisory Board, Richard Cromlish Jr., a reappointment.
Second, I'll second that. All in favor? It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. Reports. Commissioner Worley had none. Commissioner Hovis.
I have none tonight, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Johnson. I just want to remind everyone, I want to tell Dr. Eagle and her staff, this right here going out, I think, was one of the highlights that I saw, other than the bill itself, but very well put together, and also received the county police's report, so thank you guys for that. Any other matters which come before the board at this time? Seeing none, this concludes our meeting for tonight. Our next Board of Commissioner meeting. Oh, I always can remember that somehow, but county manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a very brief report. If you remember, back in April of 2021, you all approved our MWBE policy. This applies to construction projects that are over $300,000, so I have a very brief update for you tonight. Back in September, we completed an audit on the progress in that area. We looked at 10 contracts as a part of that audit. Those span time from 2016 to 2020, and we averaged participation of 2.6% up to 14%. Our goal is 10%. So we are implementing some enhancements based on the results from that audit. So I wanted to highlight just a few of those. Excuse me. So first and foremost, David Williams is here with us tonight. He has been designated as our coordinator for that program. And a tremendous amount of work has gone into that program in conjunction with Public Works. We now have a capital project process and a procedure manual. We have a strategic outreach plan, and last month we had a huge milestone that we accomplished. We hosted a recruitment and informational event, and we had over 50 businesses attend that event. We plan to do that annually as a part of the regular outreach, so we're very proud of the participation from that event. So once we have the program up and running and a few more months under our belt, we'll be back with you sharing specific data in terms of the percentages and the performance information, but I wanted to let you know that we are off and running with a good start. That is all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I apologize again for skipping you 2 months in a row. County Attorney's report.
No report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Even better. This concludes our meeting for tonight. Our next Board of Commissioner regular meeting is August 23rd at 6 p.m. here in the Harley B. Gaston Public Forum Courthouse. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please remit those by telephone or email to Donna S. Buff at 704-866-3196. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Motion made by Commissioner Hovis, seconded by Commissioner Johnson. All in favor? It is unanimous. Good night, Batwoman.